What are the three main points that you're standing for?
I think within Central Otago and Cromwell in particular, we're facing a lot of challenges related to growth. So you can call it three main points, or you can call it something like master plan, master plan, master plan, because all the three main points are actually in there, and it's about making sure that we continue to engage with our community, to listen to what their aspirations are and what their needs are, and put them in place. So that means we're going to have to look at things like the town centre, where that's going. It's an important aspect of it all. We're going to have to look at our residential zoning of our land and where that's going, which the master plan talks about, and where that's going to develop into the future. And then look at our cultural centre and the hall, the heritage precinct, and what that's going to look like. And I guess tying all that together is about planning. And so you can say you've got a master plan, but the master plan just gives you the spatial framework for what you want to achieve, and then we've got to make sure we've got a district plan that's going to actually back that up. That's due for review, that's been worked through, so it's probably a very important thing to work through in the next term of this council, and I think that that will enable us to implement what the master plan says. So is that three? That's probably more, but that's the most important focus. At the same time, for me, in seeking election as a councillor for the ward, then there's the overarching picture of not just Cromwell, it's about the district as well. So you've got to have that mindset. You go to the council table as someone who has to represent the views of the district. I'm not there as solely a Cromwell advocate. And you throw into that, so to say planning's a big one, and then you throw two more into that, you'll throw Lake Dunstan and everything that goes with that. It's a big issue for the community going forward. And second alongside that's probably housing and where that goes and what that looks like. So there's probably more than three in there, but they're the three main aspects, I think.
Great. You've preempted a few of our questions.
Sorry.
Tell me, what's your position on growth in Cromwell and the region?
I'll never forget my father coming back to Cromwell in the early 90s and saying to me a few years later, boy, would you stop this place changing and growing. I quite like what it was like in 1991. And I said to him then, and I keep on saying to him now, if we stop growth, we'll only go backwards. The challenge with growth, though, is to manage it and make sure it's appropriate, in the right place, at the right speed, bearing in mind that you don't actually get to control all that stuff as well. You've got a whole lot of rules and regulations around you that as a council we have to take into account and have to administer. And I refer particularly to lots of plan changes and those sort of things. But yeah, so growth is a positive thing generally, but it brings a huge amount of challenges. Infrastructure, making sure that you can provide for it and cope with it. Cromwell's been lucky because in the 1970s someone came along and said, you're going to change forever this town because we're going to build some power stations around you and we're going to put a workforce here. And Cromwell had to upgrade a whole lot of its infrastructure and all that sort of stuff. That left us well prepared for the future though. So for the, I guess the 30 years since then, we've had the capacity to absorb a tremendous amount of growth. But at the same time, we've also had successive councils back in the pre-amalgamation days, the Cromwell Borough, and then more recently, since the late 80s, early 90s, the Cromwell Community Board and the Central Otago District Council, to actually make sure that infrastructure keeps up to speed and is there to take the growth that's come. So, you know, Cromwell's been well served in the past. People like me then come along and say, well, I want to be part of that. And we just simply try and make sure that what we've got is ready for the future. And for me, I look at that and go and say, I had the benefit of raising a family of 4 children in Cromwell with my wife, and I want to make sure that when they come back, not if, but when, because they will, that they have the same opportunity to raise their families with the same sort of infrastructure and opportunities in Cromwell then. So that should work for us.
And what do you think should happen to the Cromwell Memorial Hall?
The Cromwell Memorial Hall's been around for as long as I've been involved in this local government side of things. For most of the 17 years, that seems to be the magic number we talk about, we simply couldn't afford to do anything. We didn't have the funds to do it. And as the funding became available, the previous boards worked hard to look at what the options were. We almost got it 3 years ago, almost got it started to refurbish it. That didn't happen, and along the way there's been a lot of changes and earthquake issues and those sort of things. The community at the same time has changed as well. So I think there's little doubt that the master plan processes has told us that we need to rebuild a new structure that's fit for the purpose. What that looks like yet, we don't know. But there's no doubt in my mind we will be rebuilding a hall of some description It will probably possibly be more than a hall, but there's still a lot of work to go through to actually determine just what it looks like. When's the right time? How we're going to pay for it? Is the trust the right model to take it forward? They're all things that need to be worked through and decided. And the good thing about that is that there's nothing off the table, and they can all be worked through as options, which is positive.
The Cromwell Mall, the retail heart of the town, what can be done to ensure it's a really vibrant place for businesses, for visitors and for locals?
Yeah, the mall is a throwback to a time when they were the right things to have, and it served the town well. Let's make no bones about it. It's served Cromwell really, really well in the past. But the world's changed, and the way we shop has changed, and where we shop and how we shop, it's all different now. The mall now is basically a commercial centre where there's accountants, lawyers, real estate agents, and that sort of stuff. The board in the past has worked hard to try and give some life to the town centre and to make sure that we're not the barriers to it, to preventing it to develop into what the community wants and needs. More importantly, needs as opposed to wants, I think, is the most important thing there. So going forward, looking at trying to make sure that it has a focus and is invigorated as the town centre. We as a board and a council have to make sure that we're not the barriers to stopping that from happening. The question will be is that should we be the doer of some of these things? We're not retailers. We don't run businesses, and we provide services to our ratepayers, and they pay for them. So we need to be careful that we don't get ourselves in a situation where people see us as being the ones that should be providing the opportunity, the bricks and mortars. There may be places for that. So we'll concentrate, I think, on the things that are important around that, which is the services, the car parking, the roading network, looking at the design and the layout, and if you look at the work we've already done in the past with the Big Fruit Reserve and how that got opened up, we spent a lot of money to make that happen, and I think it's worked in spades. You can see the town centre now. The rest really, to me, then comes down to the retailers, and I can't, and the board can't, and the council can't make the market. If we as locals don't support what's there, then it won't survive. So we've got to do it as well. We've got a part to play. The community's got a part to play. Again, council, don't be the barrier to it. Make sure that we can leave opportunities for people to take. And then as the community, we should take those and support it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you feel emotional about this community.
It's pretty simple for me. I was born here. My father was born here. On Dad's side, my family came out of the Upper Clutha, from Lagoon Valley and Hardware Flat area in Luggett. And as a young person, I grew up mostly in Dunedin, but we always came back here for our holidays. And back in 1978, which is a long time ago now, I started working for what was the New Zealand Electricity Department, and said I'm going home to live in Cromwell. I'm going to work on the Clyde Dam. So 7 years later, I came here. In '85, I got here to work on the construction of the Clyde Dam, and thought that we'd be building a few more. Didn't quite happen that way, but I said I was home. And along the way, then I got married, had some kids, did all the things you do as a parent with your children in a fantastic place that I just call paradise. And I said earlier, I want to make sure that I can use the skills and the experience that I've got to try and make sure that for when my kids, when they come back, that the opportunities that I had to bring them up here, they'll have similar opportunities, because the people have made sure that Cromwell's prepared for them going forward. 2009, I think it was, I did a big overseas trip with my wife, first time away, and I'll never forget the feeling that I had when I came back over the Cluden Hill and seen the pies arranged, and just felt this sort of sense of, not relief, but just contentment that I was home. Not long after that, someone said to me, what was the best part about your holiday? And I said, coming home. And I just spent $20,000 for 5 weeks away, and the best part was coming home. I wondered why I'd left. But the fact that I'd left and came back just made that really become really crystal clear. So I probably knew it beforehand, and I've never forgotten it, and I never will. So it's a pretty special place, pretty special people, and I'm not going anywhere, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to work as part of a team to make sure this community and the wider district is good for the future.